Everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'm Tom Connors. This is 4K for you. Joining me is Greg of FanZcene. How are you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be here as always, talking some physical media with you and soon Valliant Renegade.
Yes, he should be on his way. Oh, I see Mike's in the chat. I'll send you the link, Mike. I didn't know if you're going to be available or not. If you are, hop on in. If not, no worries. Let's see here.
How's everybody doing out there in the chat tonight? Glad to see you all here.
Yeah, as you said, Valiant should be here soon. Go ahead and say hello to some folks if you will while I'm sending this to
say hi to Dalton B, hi to Mike, Samurai Vader, Boba Fett, I hope I said that right, Rusty Shackelford, Farnsworth, KR Nut 82, Werewolf, Cool Gamer, Mecha J, Davina Duckworth, hail to you guys, Duck Nation, Darth Scipio, I hope I say that right, and everybody in the chat and everybody watching, Cosmic Squirrel, I can't say that name, sorry, I don't want to upset you. I didn't know how to say that one, but hail to you guys. Thank you guys for being here with us live this evening as we get ready to regale you with the upcoming releases for the rest of this year and next year that we know of. It looks to be like there could be some great titles headed our way.
Yes, indeed. We've got some, let's start with some rumors. Why not?
Yeah. Let's see. What do we got here? Dragon Slayer. You want to do that one first? Dragon Slayer. That's sort of a rumor at the moment.
It's a rumor at the moment. And we got Mike joining us. Hey, how you doing?
There we go. I wasn't sure if it was a rumor, if it's been confirmed, but it looks like
I haven't checked.
Yeah. So Dragon Slayer with Peter McNichol looks like it might be coming to a steelbook and 4K sometime in February of 2023. So maybe that's not a rumor.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw Paramount was releasing it. So yeah,
that's my bad. That's not a rumor.
Cool. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
All right.
Glad to have you here.
What's up, Mike?
Not much.
Cool. And then we were just talking about Dragon Slayer coming from Paramount in 4K. I'm not surprised. That's a good title of theirs. Of course, that's one outside of the U.S. that's co-produced by It's co-produced by Disney, and then outside of the U.S. they own the distribution on it, and it's vice versa. And no, it's the same thing for Popeye. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
True. Which I think they got scanned in 4K, but they only released a 2K disc for some reason. Which kind of pissed me off at that time, but anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like it was that big of a deal, though, because we hadn't had it on Blu-ray yet. But what else you got for us besides Dragon Slayer? Which that should be cool, because the Jim Henson effects in that were pretty badass from my memory. It's been quite a tick since I've seen it, though.
I remember it was pretty good. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, I remember it was pretty decent. Trying to see if I had any rumors. It may just be all sort of somewhat confirmed on certain ones. Like let's see, like this one looks like coming back to 4K as a moment is special 30th anniversary for June 2023. Jurassic Park once again on 4K.
Yeah, we'll take that in the rumor category thus far. Because I'm hoping the reason they would do this would actually be to rescan the fucking negative. Because there's no way that 4K that's out there now comes from the negative. Because I have the 3D version and the 4K, and I watched like select scenes from the 4K, and then I watched the 3D version. The 3D version clearly comes from the negative. There's no way that 4K bucking Blu-ray comes from the negative. There's tons of shit and elements on there that are not on the 3D version. I'm like, wait a minute here. And the clarity of the 3D version is much better. And it's like, this is a Blu-ray compared to a 4K. Something ain't right. And I can see why now people have been passing around a 35 millimeter scan of the movie besides it just being open matte.
True that.
And Valliant is now joining us.
Valiant!
Hey, sorry, car line was like extra stupid today.
No, that's fine. You told me you'd be a little late anyway. We alerted the audience, and Mike is joining us as well now. So, welcome. We were just talking about the rumor that there's a new 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park coming for next year. And we're just talking mostly me, just talking amongst ourselves if it's going to be a new scan or not.
Hopefully.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's not like the one we have now is okay, but it's not.
Does it have Dolby Vision, the current one?
No,
I can't remember.
No, okay, I was going to say
standard HDR. It is
so.
a 4K scan, but like I said, I think it's from the inner positive or something like that. It's definitely not from the negative, but I think they did a scan of the negative after that Blu-ray was released for the 3D version, if I'm not mistaken. Because did that come after that? Because Jurassic Park was one of the first 4Ks released by Universal. I know that.
Well, they're not going to pass up a good marketing opportunity like the 30th anniversary to sell some more copies of it.
Of course not. No, of course not, Mike. I'm not going to argue with you there. But that's where I'm like, is it going to just be that? If that's the case, then fuck them.
Yeah. I mean, if it's just going to be the same release over and over and over, you might as well just forget it.
Or just slap the same disc in a steelbook. And
that's what I'm hoping it's not going to be.
Because if anything, because that one and The Lost World need to be rescanned. The Lost World, for some reason, is only from a 2K interpositive, probably because it was done in digital with so many special effects. But they did do a 4K scan of Part 3 for some reason, though, instead. And, of course, the rest of them are all from 2K interpositives anyway.
Right. True that. But, we shall see. Hopefully, like I said, I enjoyed the first Jurassic Park.
Actually, I take that back. I think the newest one was actually 4K from beginning to end. I could be wrong, though.
Oh, well, we'll see. Well,
it
hopefully.
Does look pretty good. I know that.
I still haven't seen the last one.
It's got one really impressive special effects shot in it, though. It's when the new big giant dinosaur, there's fire all around it. Yeah. And the fire is reflecting on the skin of the dinosaur. It's one of the best CGI shots I
watched. I watched the first few minutes because that's where majority of the extra added stuff is in the special edition. And it all looked pretty great to me. So I think
movie's not very good, but
the movie's
it looks really good.
It's actually probably one of the better of the newer three, though, because I'm not a huge fan of the first Jurassic World because it really is just the same movie as the first movie, like verbatim. So like that sense, I'm like, but this one is probably the better of the storylines because that second middle one just sucked donkey balls.
Second one was bad.
Jurassic Park in it should have been called Jurassic Mansion.
I kind of like it because of how ridiculous that is.
I called it. You talking about Jurassic World Fallen franchise?
Yeah, Fallen franchise. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's funny.
Yeah. I'm much rather wait for the Abyss and Maltese Falcon. So that's on deck.
Why
don't we? Was there any more rumors? I think you said that was pretty much it for the rumors. That's the only one we can put.
Let me see here because I know some of them have been sort of announced. I don't know if this one has been confirmed, but The Man Who Fell to Earth is coming to 4K.
I think that's been confirmed now with the Steelbook.
Yeah, with the Steelbook for Best Buy.
Studio Canal, and I think Best Buy's got the Steelbook. I don't know is it Studio Canal releasing it here? Or is it probably Lionsgate releasing it here?
I think it's going to be a Lionsgate Steelbook like they've been doing.
And then I was gonna say we did get a Kino's update on Marathon Man in 4K.
Yes.
So they're
and the thing about The Man That Fell to Earth, that might be because Lionsgate's done this a few times with their Best Buy Steelbooks. It might be a Best Buy exclusive. It might be the only way to get that on 4K.
Could very well be. That's a good point. Thanks, Mike. That's very, very good point. And then
interesting.
Speaking of the Maltese Falcon, that is coming from. Let's see here. Who's bringing that on?
That'd be Warner Brothers, wouldn't it?
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
Let me see here because I got the digital bits thing up here, so I'm just going to go through all this stuff now because you mentioned the Abyss and Avatar, or Abyss.
Yeah. It's Warner Brothers, because they were talking about it in the same paragraph in that article on the bits with Training Day 7. The Training Day is coming around January 17th,
Yep.
7 late Q1 or into early Q2.
And then he brings up Superman
again. 2, with the
The
Donner
Exorcist
cut.
again, and the Maltese Falcon, later that year.
Yeah. That's the only thing I say. Is there's no real date, but at least we have some information, like with the Abyss. It's coming around the same time as the Avatar.
We have a date now for the Abyss. It's supposed to come out and coincide with the first Avatar, the Abyss, and the second Avatar are all supposed to come out at the same time.
I will make my projection now. The transfer on the Abyss will smoke Avatar.
Probably.
Fingers crossed.
Because I wonder if he's going to use that new up-resed fucking... Because I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but he up-converted the first Avatar with to 40-some frames a second, whatever it is, 48 frames.
Oh, God.
So basically he added motion smoothness to the Blu-ray.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard that.
And look,
So you can't turn it off.
No, well, here's the thing. To be fair, from a technological standpoint, motion smoothing, and we've talked about this here before, there is a time and a place for it. Where motion smoothing tends to actually work to a benefit is with things like live sports. That can be helpful as long as it's not overcranked and you get a ton of judder. And also video games. Well, what was Avatar? Avatar was so much heavy CGI. It's possible, depending on the method they employ to actually grade this with motion smoothing, it could make it look better. It could also make it look atrocious. It just depends how they do it. But as far as the comparison, just to remind the chat out there, the big difference between Avatar of 2009 and, of course, The Abyss was that The Abyss was shot on a very, very beautiful film, organic analog film, whereas Avatar was shot digitally, but not with a 4K ARRI Alexa because they didn't exist yet. They were shot, that movie was entirely shot on, 1080p, basically, Sony high-definition digital cameras. There was some in there that was shot on IMAX film, but it wasn't a tremendous amount. It was mostly done, most of the shots were done on Sony high-definition digital cameras. So the source material is still HD, which is part of the reason, in my opinion, that it's taken so long to get us to a 4K, because the original source material, it doesn't even support a 4K thing. It's got to be up-converted. Whereas film, like The Abyss, can be scanned, and we've seen it many times at this point, done incredibly successfully.
My only question is, how is the CGI stuff going to look in The Abyss?
Yeah.
Because what they'll probably do is, because back then specifically, now they would probably just spit out a digital file and plop that in. Back then, they had to spit out the file onto film,
right, and
they cut it into the negative. So my guess is it's that film from back then that they scanned. And this is what's been a fault of some of these new films that we've seen where they have gotten into CGI territory. You know, we see the degradation once they hit those shots, which it is not going to take away from the rest of the film, where it's, all the underwater sequences and all that.
They could tweak those effects in post.
They could try. They'll probably up-convert a little bit, but I hate when they do. I just assume they just send it straight through and give it to us that way. But
yeah.
Or do us the favor of actually recompositing it. That I don't mind. That's one of the few times I don't see, people are like, don't mess with it. Like, no, the few times I'll be like, you know what? I don't have a problem if they go back and if they've got all the film elements and they can recomposite a shot on a computer instead of doing it using the optically printed film, go for it. Because after seeing like the Star Trek Director's Edition and stuff like that, those shots look beautiful compared to what they look like on the old optically printed versions, right? Like you can even still, the mat, you can see the mat around like the bird of prey as it comes into the shot and shit like that in the old version. In this, it looks almost pristine and perfect. So, I mean, in that case, you're just melding 35 millimeter elements anyway. So,
right.
And some of them they were shot in 70 because they knew they were going to be degraded. So,
yeah.
Especially when you get to like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I hope they would redo that film. That'd be nice, but they won't. But yeah.
Yeah. Boba Fett, you got this question up here. So Super 35.
That's kind of what I was answering there, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it was shot in 35 millimeter film. So just for everybody's edification out there, Super 35, that tends to be more of it's a nomenclature associated with digital photography. So a Super 35 sized digital sensor is actually smaller than a 35 millimeter frame of film, analog film. So it's a little bit different. So back then you would have shot either on an OG pure 35 mil or 70 millimeter, or IMAX, which was kind of basically 70 millimeter but turned sideways. So I mean, yeah, it was 35 millimeter, but not really Super 35. Super 35 is a little bit different.
No, actually, I think he did shoot Super 35.
No, it was shot on. Yeah, it was shot on Super 35.
Was it Super 35?
Yeah, because Valliant, what Cameron liked to do is he would shoot on Super 35.
Yeah, he shot the Terminator 2 on Super 35.
And did the same thing with Terminator, and I believe he did the same thing with Titanic, because that way his widescreen version is just a center scan. But then when he goes to do the pan and scan version, they're completely different versions. In fact, he prefers the pan and scan version of T2 and I believe the Abyss, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so then that was a little unusual for the time then. Okay.
Because that's what he would like to do, because then what he would do is when he would go back and he would since he had final release on, he has to sign off on the final release, he would sit down and actually do the pan and scan versions. And they weren't actually technically pan and scan in the traditional sense, because since he would do the Super 35, like I said, the widescreen version would be just a center, they would chop the top and bottom off.
Yeah, he filmed the Abyss.
He would reshoot
Terminator 2, True Lies, and Titanic on Super 35.
Yeah, and then he would basically redirect those scenes on the video version to where you would actually see more on the video half the time, because he was so that's squaring it off, but he'd move it around a little bit here and there. But usually he would have that open matte. So that's what I think.
That's what I was going to say. That's the difference, is how you how you arrange your matte box on the front of the camera. And for those out there wondering, okay, so like you might have an anamorphic lens that will, give you a squashed 2:3:5 to 1 aspect ratio, for example,
and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, which you then have to stretch back out into a normal looking field of vision.
And that's why I think he compromised on Titanic, and that one's not in the full 2:3:5 as like Abyss and T2 were.
Yeah. Like when they started making actual digital cameras like the ones we see today, like the REs and things like that, a lot of those sensors were constructed to a Super 35 format. So if you looked at an actual 35 millimeter frame of regular film compared to a Super 35 millimeter sensor, so like, for example, right now you can still buy them, like a Canon C70, which I've used before, their cinema line. That is a Super 35 sensor. It's not as big as the quote-unquote full-frame sensor that is in a Canon 35 millimeter full-frame camera, even though it's giving you a similar kind of aspect ratio. It's just a different. It's just built differently. It's a smaller size. It's kind of more tailored. The thing is, it's more tailored to giving you, the sensor is tailored to giving you a more native 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. Is effectively what it boils down to.
Well, and that's what a lot of directors used that for. Mainly, they moved over to Super 35. Probably was it like late 70s, Mike? You would say probably, because I think some of the earlier ones to film that way were like The Longest Yard, and I think maybe like a couple other movies like that, because they knew they'd be showing on TV. So that was their whole point, is they knew they wanted that open matte.
I thought it was more in the 80s.
It might have been more in the 80s, but I
really
know that was
then.
the reason. I know that for specifically that movie, that was one of the first ones the director specifically shot it in Super 35 with an open matte, knowing that when it went to television, it was going to either be cropped off or he'd have to open up the matte. So he specifically shot it that way. And some directors were good about it. The ones that you could tell weren't were when they would open up the matte and you would have like the boom mic and see like the edit things like you're not supposed to see.
Right.
Oops. That's the problem you'd run into sometimes on those, though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times when they were shooting in 2.35 to 1, they were still shooting it on 35 millimeter film. But because they were shooting it in a widescreen format natively, just depending on how they wanted to do it, depending on the lens they were using, it afforded them, so like if you had 100 meters of film, for example, and you could get, and I'm making up these numbers at this point, but if you had 100 meters of film and you could actually shoot 5 minutes of footage at 24 frames a second on that 100 meters in a normal 35 format, if you did a super 35 format with your crop kind of preset to 235 to 1, provided you have a camera that was advancing the film at the correct length from frame to frame, you could, instead of getting 5 minutes, you might get 7 minutes or 8 minutes on that stock of film. So just because you were shooting a frame that was,
there's that too, yeah.
Shorter, or in terms of, it had a wider aspect ratio. So it just depends how they did it. But yeah, I didn't know that
for
about
Cameron though.
The
it was just
original Cameron
logistic
stuff.
reasons, because he knew his movies would be on video eventually, and then that was that whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right about that too. There's many reasons why, but that was the main when they picked it up, especially in the 80s, because they knew video was, going to be a problem otherwise. Because as you've seen, any pan and scan movie on video, they look like shit.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, they do.
Yes.
That's why sometimes, even though I hate the TV cut part of it, I would prefer the television pan and scan over the video pan and scan, and I'll tell you why. Because they usually spent a little money on the TV pan and scan because they would actually bring people back in, or that it was done at the same time as the other stuff. And the director usually had a hand in that version as opposed to the video version, which was usually done by some technician.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided what to pan and scan on. Like there's that one specific that sticks out to me as a kid that really kind of first made me realize this was Ghostbusters when I saw it on TV. Because on the VHS version, as Harold Ramis points out in the commentary, he's almost cut out of the entire fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because he's always happens to be the one that's off to that side that gets cut. And when they did the scene in the opening scene in the library where the book thing falls behind him,
Mm-hmm.
he goes and he looks at both of them. In the TV version, it actually pan and scans to both of them, and you get the reaction. In the video version, it only shows Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm like, wait a minute, I never saw that before. I'm like, what is going on? And it really kind of fucked with my brain, and I had to. I finally figured out this whole thing about widescreen and the difference and all that kind of stuff down the road. But yeah, that's the first time I kind of noticed that. I was like, wait a minute, something's weird.
That's why I always liked the Laserdisc versions, and I enjoyed having a big Laserdisc library because they didn't screw with it on Laserdisc.
Well, yeah, finally, they started doing the widescreen versions on Laserdisc when they realized it was more of a niche market.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, more in the 90s. Most of the Laserdiscs in the 80s were still pan and scan.
Yeah, they were just the same versions. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that, we had a couple more. Not to step on your toes here, but I'm just going to run through these real quick here, Greg.
Go
since
ahead.
I've got the Bill Hunt thing up here. As we were just saying, The Abyss and Avatar: Way of the Water and Avatar 1 all due first quarter of next year. So basically when you hear about the second movie coming out, that's probably when they'll drop them. Dragon Slayer we brought up already. African Queen and The Saint and Enemy at the Gates are also looking at getting 4K releases, as well as the expected releases of Star Trek Next Generation films. The earlier ones are expected 2/23 and early 2023, and the Star Trek ones will be on Star Trek Day next year, according to Bill Hunt, and that's pretty trustworthy.
Yep.
As we pointed out, Training Day will come in January. It looks like we can expect the Superman films in Q2. I'm still trying to get information on whether or not the first film will be both versions or if it's just going to be a repackaging.
No.
Because there's been some news that come out that they will be doing a box set. I don't know how extensive it will be.
I seen on a Superman website called Cape something. I can't remember. It's a pretty reliable website that it looks like it's going
Cape
to
Wonder. That's where I saw it too. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be the first movie, the original theatrical cut, and they're going to fix the issues from the other 4K. Is what I read on their site.
Okay,
yeah.
So you saw the actual report. I just saw them put up a thing that there was going to be a box set, so that made my eyebrow perk up. Like,
yeah, okay, I did hear that there will be a box set, and from what I read on that, from whatever they got, or I don't know if it can be verified or not, but it sounds accurate that it's just going to be the theatrical cut again, but they're going to fix what the problems were, because the 4K of Superman 1 it's all right, but it could have been a lot better, and it looks like they're going to fix that up. So who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be wrong.
Yeah, like I said, it'd be nice to at least get Donner's cut of it. I don't care about the TV cut so much, but at least Donner's cut. I mean,
yeah.
You know. But yeah, Robert Meyer Burnett, when he was talking about it too, when I talked about it with him, it didn't sound like it was a likely scenario to get the other cut either. So we'll see. Yes, I did. I didn't review it, but I did talk about it on. Well, I guess reviewed it, if you want to call it that, on Greg's show.
Yes.
Last week. So what you want to do is you want to check us out on physical media every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Time, I believe it is, and 9:30 Eastern.
Yep.
And that's what I talked about Rollerball. It was really cool. It actually is a pretty nice release.
It was good.
I gave it pretty high review.
Yeah.
Movie itself was meh.
Hey, James Caan, though.
It was all right.
Yeah. It was one of those you got to watch at least once just for the nostalgia, but it's never had a whole lot of rewatchability for me.
It's true.
My only problem is just a little slow at the end of the second act leading into the third. Then when it picks back up, it's all right.
That's true.
Yeah. And then we also had, let's see here, from our buddies over at thedigitalbits.com. Let's see here, where Eagles. Okay, this is the one thing that's on our title. So let's talk about this real quick. We got this is in the rumor category, but it's technically not a rumor-ish. There have been scans of all the Dirty Harry films.
Yeah, this was what I was looking for. I didn't see this earlier.
Where the Eagle Dares, Outlaw Josie Wales, Pale Rider, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, and Kelly's Heroes. And Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, we already know, has been announced by Kino Lorber.
Mm-hmm.
Now keep Kino in mind for a minute, because that's going to come up in a second. So I'm really looking forward to the Dirty Harry films. The first one specifically needed the overhaul, because those Blu-rays are older than, probably almost as old as my kid. And the Deadpool, I don't think has ever been released on its own.
Right. It's always been in like that 4-pack set,
Only
right?
in that one set, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you guys looking forward to some Dirty Harry on 4K
yeah.
Blu-ray?
Oh yeah.
Make my day, punk. I love Dirty Harry. I mean, how can you not love Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry, this badass cop in the 70s? That's freaking awesome.
I love Magnum Force. So.
Yeah, I love the sequels. All the sequels are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all pretty up there on that level. Like, of all I never really thought about it before, but the Dirty Harry series is probably one of the most consistent series
right.
there ever was, to be honest with you, as much as it changed throughout the years.
He was the same cop at the center of the film, doing the same stuff, not caring what anybody said.
But they all have their moments and their cool bits, where it's like, oh, yeah, I like that one too, like...
Yeah.
Because the one's got the Magnum Force. That's the one about the killer cops, right? Or is that the other one? See, that's the other thing.
Yeah, Magnum Force is the one with the killer cops and Hal Holbrook.
Okay, Hal Holbrook. And then the next one after that would be the one with what's her face from Cagney and Lacey, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
And what one's that one called? That one's called.
Let me see, because I'm trying to think of all the names. Because I remember the Deadpool, Magnum Force, Dirty Harry,
Sudden Impact.
There you go.
And then the Deadpool, of course, has young Liam Neeson as the villain, which is great. And you have Jim Carrey singing "Welcome to the Jungle."
The Enforcer is actually the third one.
Okay, the Enforcer is the third one. That's the one I was missing. Okay, the Enforcer. So then, which one's Sudden Impact? That's the fourth one. And then the fifth one's fifth one is Deadpool. So I missed the Enforcer. Which one has Cagney and Lacey in it? Then is that the Enforcer or Sudden Impact?
Let's see.
I want to say that's the Enforcer.
Because then Sudden Impact would be the one in the 80s then, because that's where he had the new gun.
Yeah,
Tyne Daly is in the.
I remember from the poster because he had the.
Yeah, Sudden Impact is go ahead and make my day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What was the crutch in that one? I'm trying to remember now. And that's sad because that's probably the one I've seen the most besides the Liam Neeson one.
He's sent to a small town to follow up a lead in a murder case, which leads him directly to a woman who had something happen to her, who's out to avenge herself and her catatonic sister.
She's the rape killer. That's right.
Yeah.
That's one with Sandra Locke.
Yep, Sandra Locke.
Yeah.
Yep, they were still married at that point, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were ever married.
Or they were never married.
I don't think so.
They had a kid together.
Yeah, they did, but
they
were
got
together
married,
for.
Huh?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think my parents told me they were, and that's probably why.
Yeah, they're married.
Yeah, see, yeah. Instead of trying to explain to me that they had a kid together and all that business, they just told me they were married, probably. Because she was also in the Clyde movies, too, and I would have watched those as a little kid, so that's probably why.
And she's in Outlaw. Is it Outlaw Josie Wells? Is that the one she's in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it that one? Yeah.
She's in one of them. It's a good one, though.
My dad is where I get my love of trivia from. Because he was always the guy when I was watching TV and movies with him. He goes, yeah, I was related to that person. And
Sandra Locke was in a lot of movies with Eastwood.
Yeah.
Because they were together for close to 15 years, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, any of the other titles there stick out to anybody? Of course, we just talked about Outlaw Josie Wales. That's one of my favorites of his. We also had Pale Rider, Where Eagles Dare, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, Kelly's Heroes. Kelly's Heroes is another one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I know I got High Plains Drifter coming for Christmas. I know that.
Yeah,
so
I should have that sooner.
I got that coming.
I think I made the mistake of ordering it with other pre-orders, and Kino stopped, or at least they must not do it all the time, only certain times. They stopped sending them separately, or whatever. So yeah.
Oh man.
Now, remember we talked about the Rocky films?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they may have hit a hiccup.
Oh boy.
Whoever was supposed to release them before, and I would assume it would have been Kino Lorber. But Bill does not name them here. He actually says, and shall remain nameless. Lost or turned down the right to release them. Maybe MGM wanted more money than they were willing to give out. That's very possible. But MGM has found another licensor, but we don't know any further update yet. So I'm assuming that'll push them out just a little bit farther than we were expecting.
I wonder if Stallone had to get in there or something.
I doubt it. I don't.
Because
he already approved them, so these are already scanned. They're already done scanned, from what I heard. They just need to find a distributor, because I already have the first one in 4K for a while. On Vudu, or digital, whatever you want to call it. And Rocky, the director's cut of 4 was in 4K, so I'm assuming they already had scanned all the stuff for Rocky 4 anyway.
Yeah.
So at that point, I kind of figured they were scanning them all. But yeah, so we'll find out more about it when we do. We'll let you know. And then so you also had another one for us, Greg, with the one you're looking forward to, and I am too a little bit, but not as much as it sounds like you are, from MVD. If you want to fill us in on that.
Swamp Thing, the Wes Craven Swamp Thing is coming to MVD on 4K, both the PG cut and the international cut, with Adrian Barbeau a little more bare than in the PG theatrical cut here in the US. So yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. I love the Swamp Thing movies.
Yeah, I'd like to know how they got around that, because as far as I know, they can't legally release the foreign cut in the US.
I do not know, but I know that Digital Bits, Bill Hunt confirmed it, and so did the other people I've seen. So
must have got it cleared.
Well, Adrienne Barbeau would have had to approve that, because that was part of her contract.
She must have then, I would assume.
It says new HDR transfers of both PG and international cuts. So we'll see. Well, that's why, I was kind of excited, because like you said before that the international cut, she had a thing on it and we couldn't get it. And that's why they, if you have the DVD of Swamp Thing that they first released, it was the accidental international cut that they had to pull. So that's, we'll see how it plays out.
The 88 Films Blu-ray from the UK has the foreign version too.
Oh, there you go.
Because they could legally release it there.
Yeah.
I think there's something that's gone down with, I don't know if it has to do with how to explain it, but because let's just say that we've already discussed this, so I can't say who, but we've been in talks with a certain boutique company that is not in the U.S., let's say. I think I can say that much. And they have flat out said about certain things about getting other certain cuts, that they have to get certain clearances, because they have to be available for all regions after that if they do them. So that was a reason why a certain cut was not going to be allowed to be released on this other one, because the company that owned it in the U.S. wouldn't allow it. And it had nothing to do with the region rights like this does, Mike. I know what you're saying here, so that's probably likely what happened, but I don't know if that might have cleared that issue up and she has no say in it, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's been available on DVD in the overseas too for a long time. So I don't know.
And I do remember back when they first released it on DVD, they accidentally released it in the U.S.
Yeah.
as the uncut version.
Yeah.
Because I still have that original.
Yeah,
Swamp
I
Thing
know.
DVD.
Thank you for that, Mike, by the way.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that too as well.
Yeah, me too. And
that's the Wes Craven directed one.
Yeah, that's the Wes Craven one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And speaking of which, Warwolf there says, "What about Return of the Swamp Thing?" That's been released on 4K as well. So
well, it's coming out.
Yeah, it's not out yet. Yeah, it's coming.
It's not out yet.
You can go ahead and pre-order that one. So
yeah, that's the Jim Wynorski sequel with Heather Locklear.
Which is just as fun. I mean, it's really cheesy and crazy. So I love both the Swamp Thing movies. I love them. They're crazy.
Yeah, I like the monsters in the second one. It's pretty fun.
But yeah, there's that. But yeah, so if you're looking forward to that, there's that. Is there any other ones you want me to cover, Tom? Or
sure, whatever else you had. I know we had a few more, I think.
I know we could talk about. You want to talk about the Scream Factory ones?
Sure, go ahead.
So on Scream Factory, they're releasing Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2 on a set together on 4K. That's available February 21st, 2023. What's that one that I just escaped my name? Dragonheart is coming. There it goes. I found it. Dragonheart is coming on 4K from Scream Factory 2 on February 21st. And then Bubba Ho-Tep is coming on 4K on, I gotta find the date on that. I just had it and I lost it. Where did I do that?
While you're looking for that, that's one that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because they went and did it again.
Oh yeah, here it is.
This is one that you can't get the whole kit and caboodle unless you buy a version that has 2 different of the same fucking movie.
February 7th, 2023 is that comes out. Yeah. You buy the big set, you get like the Blu-ray, the poster and all that, or in the 4K and the poster and all that. So
Lord almighty.
That's why I just buy the standard release. I don't tend to go for the big sets. I mean, as much as I would love to get them, I just figured I'll just get this. I'll just get the movie.
Shout's gonna lose me here before too long. They keep this shit up. I'm not even sure. I haven't ordered this one yet. I don't have the money right now anyway. But even if I did, I'd still be kind of just going.
Right.
Really? You can't release a single disc version of it to where you don't have to buy both the steelbook and the regular version. Clearly, if I'm that big of a collector, I'd probably just want the steelbook anyway.
Right.
Like, what the fuck, man? Anyway, or give you a way to buy one or the other. Like, that's what pisses me off.
It's true. It's true.
Go through the section and then just choose which one you want or whatever. It just makes no sense to me.
I know. Has this been confirmed? Because I know we saw it, and this is one you're excited about, Tom, coming from Shout Factory. The Magnificent 7 on 4K. Yes. I don't have a date for it, so was it confirmed?
It is confirmed.
Don't know the date. Yeah, it was confirmed, but I don't think there was a date yet. That was from Shout Select. Yeah.
Yeah, Shout Select. Magnificent 7 on 4K. I know you were excited about that one, Tom.
Yes.
Yes, Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen.
Yes, the original, what is it, 67 came out? God, I can't even remember now. 65, somewhere in there? I don't know. It was the 60s. Of course, it's a remake of Seven Samurai, and yeah, it's a classic. I love the original.
I can't wait for this one. Yeah. Here's a news headline. A 4K disc that we probably will never get. Wonder Woman 3. Seemingly just breaking here on THR, not moving forward as DC movies hit turning point.
Really?
Ooh, really?
Yes, from Hollywood Reporter.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially with Gal Gadot's Twitter post from yesterday.
Why would she say?
She was thanking the fans for letting her play Wonder Woman, basically. She's looking forward to the next film.
And I hope they look, even though there may not be a Wonder Woman 3, I really do hope that, like Cavill, she's one of the ones that they need to really hold on to. I mean, she was so good. She was.
If they're not doing a Wonder Woman 3, I don't know.
Yeah, that worries me. Because I do like her as Wonder Woman.
I loved her as Wonder Woman. She was amazing.
That makes me wonder a lot.
Yeah. But it could just mean that whatever they had sitting on the shelf in terms of, here's a proposed script. Patty Jenkins is Patty Jenkins. You know how she is. She wanted to get writer credits in addition to her director credits on the first one, and they told her no, and she got pissed and then kicked everybody out and decided to make Wonder Woman 2, which sucked.
Yeah.
So it does not give me a lot of faith in Cleopatra. I'll put it that way.
Is that even started shooting yet?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, because wasn't that the excuse made for why Patty Jenkins couldn't, oh yeah, we know we talked about this Rogue Squadron Star Wars movie, but no, because I'm busy. Right, no, sure,
yeah,
whatever.
But anyhow, back to the point at hand here. Was there any more Shout Factory announcements besides?
I think that was it for the Shout Factory stuff.
Okay, so let's take a minor guess here real quick. Who's going to get Rocky? You think it'll be Shout? Because I think Kino's the one who said, "Fuck you, I'm not paying that much."
I would say Shout.
I'm just
maybe.
taking a wild guess.
What do you think? Criterion, maybe?
Well, I was just thinking because Shout just announced like a couple MGM titles with Magnificent Seven.
That's true. Could be Shout. I can see that.
Rocky box set's going to be a big box set.
Yeah.
That I can't believe. I mean, MGM. I think the only reason they're not really, and I can't believe Amazon hasn't put together some kind of distribution company at this point. So that means they're still drifting around without a distributor for their videos.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seemingly the case to you, Mike?
Yeah, somewhat.
Because they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're going everywhere.
If they're in the middle of trying to, or they just worked out a deal with an unnamed company for Rocky, then, okay. But no, that's going to be a big set, I think.
Be interesting to see.
I think it'll be a big seller.
Watch it be Vinegar Syndrome.
That would be weird.
Because they've gotten some of the MGM titles themselves.
There was another Shout Factory one we missed, though.
Oh, was there? What was that?
It was Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2.
Oh, he did mention
I said that one.
Heard it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I think we've nailed them all except for the one that we got up on the main posts here because we talked about Dirty Harry, Bubba Ho-Tep, Swamp Thing. All that's left is the George Lucas classic, Where Were You in '62?
I wasn't alive.
Did you guys mention The Hunter? Steve McQueen's The Hunter?
Oh, no, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that's coming from Kino.
Nice.
Late February.
That's new news for me.
Nice. I didn't see that one. Yeah, that's new. But I am excited about American Graffiti. It's one of my favorites. It truly is.
I mean, yeah, I like it. And it's actually grown in stocks because it's one of those gets better with time kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's one I've been looking forward to getting a 4K Blu-ray for a while. I knew we'd get it eventually because I knew it was scanned a while back, and I think 6K when George scanned those movies.
Yeah, you got to think that George would take really good care of that film.
Well, yeah, I heard he did all his movies at the same time.
And thankfully,
even Willow's got a 4K master. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, thankfully, it's not Disney or Lucasfilm putting this one out, so it's Universal as far as I can tell.
No, Disney's been sitting on a 4K master of Willow for years.
Mm-hmm. Well, nobody's going to buy that after the new show anyway, so people's like, yeah, I loved Willow. It's overlooked.
I'm surprised they didn't re-release it to try and promote the show, to be honest with you.
Now they're like,
that's true. That's the MO usually. I mean, it's been the MO for years. Release
just throw on a little EPK thing to featurette for the new show. Yeah.
Would have been nice.
That's got the original Willow, Warwick Davis's commentary is one of the most not entertaining but educational as far as like
it's really good and
commentaries you'll ever listen to.
Yep.
Not just about Willow either. He gives a lot of insight about just George himself and stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Did they put that back on the latest Blu-ray release?
It's on the Disney one, yes. So I have both Blu-rays. I had the Fox one that they took it off for some dumb reason, but it was still on the DVD. And then now the one that they released from Disney, as far as I can tell, I believe it is on there because I have both versions. So, but it's the same release otherwise. It's just
Right, I've got both the Blu-rays. Yeah.
Nice. I just had the newer one.
Which
But
should
yeah.
be fine then, because they reinstated it on that one. I don't even know why they didn't carry it over to the Blu-ray to begin with, but it's the same Blu-ray scan that they used before.
Yeah.
Because they have shots of Willow from the first Willow in 4K in the new show.
Yeah. But they're not going to release it.
Nah, fuck that. Why should they? Yeah. They'll put it up on Disney Plus. I looked. I couldn't believe it wasn't the last time I checked. It might be now, but I doubt it. Somebody
watch their shitty sequel series, and then maybe you'll see some 4K.
It is in 4K. Yeah, that's in 4K.
Yeah.
It's actually it was pretty cheap last time I seen it. It was like either $9.99 or $7.99. I think I got it for like $7.99 on sale. That's why I rebought it.
Pretty cheap.
Yeah, I regularly see it for $10 and under.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Speaking of Willow, it's funny. I was previewing the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves 4K today.
Nice.
The trailers for that all use the music from Willow. Like, that's the music from fucking Willow.
I think there was a few movies that used the music from Willow. The James Horner score, though. Yeah, I want to say there was a trailer. I want to say there was a trailer I just saw recently that was not Robin Hood that had it too. I just can't remember what it is.
I wouldn't be surprised. Horner reused a lot of music too. I've heard too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You listen.
Goldsmith did that all the time.
Yeah, you listen to his score for Battle Beyond the Stars. It's basically Star Trek 2.
Well, no, I mean, I guess he actually would lift actual cues.
Well, yeah. Sometime if you can listen to Battle Beyond the Stars.
Flat out used cues for over and over again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, listen to Battle Beyond the Stars, Star Trek 2, and Krull sometime. Very, very similar.
But yeah. Anyway, you were going to say something, Valiant. I'm sorry.
No. That was it. I was just
you were just agreeing with something. Sorry.
Yeah.
But let's grab some super chats here. We got a thumbs up from Cannon Fowler Daryl. If you haven't sent one up yet, let me rewind.
You'll play that back.
If you hadn't hit that thumbs up yet, please do. And then our good buddy Warwolf, who's in the chat, had a question that was brought to my attention by Six, our lovely mod. He said, yeah, I'm still curious about one thing, though. What exactly is the difference between a normal Blu-ray and that 4K, 8K stuff? Is it just the amount of screen detail, or do the discs hold more data, or what? It's a very good question, Warwolf. And the question is a bit complicated, but I'm going to give you probably the best answer, at least I can, and then I'll let the rest of the guys kind of fill in from there. There is a difference. 4K, yes, it is a much more data on a disc, and the file size is 4 times bigger, basically. The screen resolution is 4 times more than a 2K disc, basically. The 8K thing, I don't see that becoming a thing outside of gaming, because at this point there's no real value in scanning a movie at 8K unless it's something that's maybe 70 millimeter or IMAX filmed, and there's so few films at that level that it wouldn't really matter. Now, they may scan movies at that high and then down convert them to 4K, which does improve the picture. But outside of that, no. 4K is pretty much the end of the line when it comes to film, outside of some kind of, if they can work out some kind of virtual reality version of movies, which I doubt. I'm going to let Valiant kind of explain the technical bits of it a little bit more.
Sorry. What he's saying is different. Oh, normal Blu-ray and 4K. Okay, so here's the deal. As time has progressed, and technology has progressed, and CPU processing power has progressed, we're getting to the point now where we can process and composite more and more data much more quickly than we could even just 10 years ago, by orders of magnitude. So here's the thing. A normal Blu-ray is 1080p, 1080 lines of progressive scanned resolution. That equates to 2.2 megapixels of data. Now, I want everybody out there in the audience to think about the iPhone or the Google phone, or whatever they have in their hand. These days, The cameras on your Google phone or your iPhone are shooting in resolutions that radically exceed 2.2 megapixels. We're talking 14, 20 plus megapixels nowadays for most phones that are being released in far higher resolutions. Still frame photography and motion capture photography are different animals, no doubt. But 4K is 4 times the resolution, 4 times the pixel density of high definition. 4K is 8.8 megapixels. 8K is about 35 megapixels. So as the resolution increases, the processing power to do that increases. Now, there are laws of limiting returns. And we've discussed this on the show many times. Is 8K really a viable commercial format? Not likely. At least not for a very, very, very long time. Yes, there are manufacturers out there these days that are producing 8K television sets, for example. But let's be honest, it's mostly a fugazi, right? It's not, there's no source material out there that you can really watch in 8K. It's being upconverted and all this kind of stuff. But if you like saying you have an 8K set, God bless you, go ahead and do it. 4K at this point in the game is an incredibly perfect medium. And the reason I say that is because if we look back, as we discuss on this show every week that we do this, a lot of these conversions, these transfers that are being captured, in many cases, very beautifully, from classic film stock, original negatives, as Tom constantly brings up, Godfather, Outsiders, all these kind of things. Unforgiven, we talked about Dirty Harry earlier.
Movie.
Oh, Unforgiven is absolutely exquisite. It is one of the most beautiful.
Well, we got one that recently that looks really good. Outside of, there's a little jaggedness from some of the
Pulp
DNR,
Fiction, there we go. Yeah.
But this baby looks great. It looks just as good as Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, and here's the point, is that 4K, an 8.8 megapixel capture of when these pieces of classic film, analog film, physical chemical film are being run through wet gates and scanned in high-quality scanners, the law of diminishing returns mathematically peaks at right about 9 megapixels, or 9 megapixels. So 8.8 megapixels at 4K. Beyond that 8.8 megapixels, there's not a whole lot more in terms of detail, depth, color depth, or anything that you can squeeze out of 100 years almost at this point of analog film capture for Hollywood films. So you can go to 8K. Is 8K going to look substantially better than 4K? No, probably not. Are there cases?
To the naked eye, anyway. Yeah.
No, it's really not. Here's where 8K is going to be commercially viable, or really more industrially viable in the long term. 8K and then 16K and so on and so forth. The Hubble telescope, medical devices, right? Stuff like this. In terms of transferring and scanning older film, it's not going to really... We've kind of hit the peak of the law of diminishing returns at this point. Blu-ray was a huge step up from DVD. There's no doubt. And 4K was really almost an equivalent step up of that. But we've reached the point now where you're really not going to get any better unless everybody takes a TV set home that is 200 inches. Like, the average size of the television is going to have to go to that point before 8K or 16K, whatever the hell's beyond this, is going to start becoming more commercially viable. Most people these days for the last, my God, look, I was selling 65-inch projection screen television sets 25 years ago.
But even then, like, I don't see them being a consumer market thing. You're
exactly.
Talking about, like,
but we're still selling 65-inch TV sets today.
Exactly. Well, not just that, like, like for that kind of a density, the only thing it'd be useful for would be something you can actually play something on it that's an 8K, right?
Yeah.
They're never going to have anything in that medium, so it's only going to be used in like the medical field, the science field, like I said, maybe the theme park field where they can expand that into some kind of, since it's more clarity, they can use it like it's more realistic image. But again, you're pumping something to it that is an 8K image. In this case, I don't see it becoming something for the home value. The only way 8K I could see that becoming useful for the home is if they actually were to adopt 4K 3D, because then you could actually get true 4K to each eye.
Yes.
With an 8K TV.
Which is still only double. That's just double. So, I mean, you really don't even need 8K to do that. You need 4K times 2 versus 4K times 4.
Yeah, so it would actually be 6K then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 6K technically, which they're shooting in 6K now. I have a Canon R3 sitting right next to me. I've got a Canon R3 that shoots in 6K RAW. Most RE cameras now, the RE Alexa LF, I think, can do it.
That's just so you have more to to work with.
They shot Guardians of the Galaxy 2 back in, that movie came out in 2016. They shot that movie in 14 and 15. They were shooting it on the red
they still did it in 2K.
Helion. Yeah, I think it was the red Helion or the red Dragon. I think it was the red Dragon. That camera. They shot Guardians 2 in 6K red RAW. So there you go. And then that was, and they did that. They captured it in that high frame rate, or excuse me, not the high frame rate, but the high pixel density, because they could then compress it down to a 2K DCI with far more detail than they could otherwise, and then render their digital effects, their VFX, their CGI in post-production into that after. And they've been doing that now for years. But in terms of like a start to finish 6K or a start to finish 8K, it's just there's no reason for that at this point, and there may not be for 10, 15, maybe 20 years.
Not outside of something special. Yeah.
No, I mean, the closest we've gotten in terms of a gorgeous 4K in to 4K out, Bullet Train and 1917.
And probably a few other Sony titles.
I mean, no, there's been some others, but in terms of just eye candy, those two films pop to mind.
Top Gun was another great one.
Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, that's another great one.
But Common gave you, would doing an 8K scan be better than doing a 2K or 4K? Absolutely. In fact, that's kind of what we've been talking about. George Lucas, even back in, I think it was 2000 and... When did the 3D version of Episode 1 come out?
I don't remember. 2010?
So yeah, before Disney bought them, he did these scans. He did 6K scans of his films. So even then... Him and Francis Ford did 6K scans, but then Ford went back and rescanned The Godfather for the Blu-ray. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike. You were going to say something.
I'd say it might have been 2012.
I think it was just right before. You could be right, yeah.
It was 2012. Yeah.
Okay. So either way, like he did them back then. And even then he was doing it in 6K. Now I've heard... I think they scanned The Wizard of Oz in 8K, if I'm not mistaken, or something bigger than that. Because they didn't ever want to have to do it again. Because the movie is so fragile at this point. Maybe it was like 16K or something like that. I heard it was some astronomical amount. I'm like, why? But I guess it's that in case they need it to be in a much higher resolution down the road. I guess that was the reasoning. But yeah. So it's possible, and they probably will start doing it more and more and more and more often as we go down the road. But what that does is give us a much nicer 4K transfer. So the down conversion looks much nicer because the human eye and what the TV can show at this point, until we actually get enough material that would be 6K or whatever, there's no reason to have a 6K or 8K TV. So, but that's kind of the way it is right now. And I unless Mike or Greg had any more to add to that, we'll move on with the other super chats.
Yeah, not really.
No, I think you guys nailed it.
Cool. Colt Siemens here says, got my Blu-ray copy of Better Call Saul Season 6 today, completing the series and completing a shelf. What's y'all's opinion on the show? And let's have an awesome stream tonight. Well, thank you, Colt Siemens. You know what? You're not going to believe this. I've never seen Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul.
What? No, I've never seen Better Call Saul, but I've seen Breaking Bad. I really enjoy Breaking Bad, but I never watched Better Call Saul.
I've heard a lot of good things about Saul, though. What about Valiant?
Well, I've only caught like the first 2 seasons of Better Call Saul myself. So.
Valiant?
I haven't finished it up yet.
It's Better Call. I loved it. I've watched it from beginning to end. Loved it.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've heard good things.
Then Primarch Vulcan says, do any of you guys have videos explaining all the technical differences between a 4K UHD remaster using the original negatives or interpositive? All these details can be a bit confusing to remember. I haven't, but I bet Greg would probably be able to possibly pull that together, or Valiant might be able to too.
It's it's kind of a case by case basis. Just for the short answer, I mean, look, there have been remasters from interpositives that have looked pretty darn good. I'm trying to think of some examples right now.
The best way to explain it though is you want to, if you can get the negative and the negative's in good shape, do that, because that's the original. You're never going to get anything better. But if you don't have a negative, then your next step is you want to get either an interpositive or a fine grain of the negative. And that's usually the next step. And if you can't get those, then you try to cobble it together with whatever you got, which can happen to a lot of releases we've seen. In fact, I believe, like for instance, Citizen Kane was cobbled together between a bunch of different fine grain and interpositive and other bits and pieces here and there. So yeah, that's but we'll see on that. Maybe Greg could pull something together with our help.
Maybe I might do some research on that. Maybe I'll put something together.
Yeah, we'll see on that. That's a good idea though.
Yeah.
And no problem, Warwolf. Glad you got your answer. So there you go. Well, if it's a regular Blu-ray player, make sure it's a 4K one. There's your difference. But yes, they are backwards compatible. That was your other question before. So, and sometimes they even upgrade the picture a little bit, upconvert it and stuff, depending to your liking. So yeah, unless there was anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we go, I think we covered all the ins and outs. Even though we were gone for 2 weeks, there was a lot of releases to get through.
Mm-hmm.
I think we covered everything.
I think we did good. We did good.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Valiant, anything you got coming up you want to plug?
Nothing in particular. I'm sure, especially as we're kind of coming into the holiday season with Avatar gearing up, we're going to have some more box office detailed financial analysis on this. This is going to be interesting. And of course, we've talked about a lot of Cameron projects tonight, so no surprise there. And just, stay tuned here. Subscribe to Midnight's Edge After Dark. Check out Midnight's Edge. Check out FanZcene. Check out Mike. Check out everybody here on the channel. My live shows are Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've got to see what's going on this weekend because I don't know if the live show is going to be able to go off at the usual time because this time of year, Mrs. Renegade has a lot, and I mean a ton, of Christmas concerts and stuff going on. So I've got to check on that, but stay tuned to the channel. We'll definitely have something coming up. I just can't promise it'll be at 5 on Sunday.
Nice.
All right, Mike, anything you want to plug?
No, just sub to my channel, please.
Yeah, check out Mike's channel.
I'm at 199 subscribers right now.
I think I got to add that to the description, but yeah.
Yeah, I plan on going back to the Air Force Museum here very soon since my schedule's opened up a little bit. I only had time last time I went to film just the Memphis Belle, and then I had to leave. But I plan on spending several hours the next time I go. Yeah, and I'd like to stream and post videos more regularly, but work schedule just kind of makes that difficult. But yeah,
nice.
We'll see.
Cool. And check out my channel tonight at 8:30, 9:30 Central Eastern Times for the Physical Media Show. Tom will be there. Runner will be with us. We'll be sharing some physical media, talk about what we watched for the week, and just check out my channel and see if you see any videos you like. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg. Sorry about that. And thank you all for listening today. We appreciate it. And thank you for the super chats and the other questions and stuff. Sorry we couldn't get to any more if you did have any more that we missed. But we all have things we have to deal with, but we hope to see you later on tonight on Greg's show. And yeah, I can hear the little ones in the background.
Yeah.
But this will link to Greg's show later on. So if you want to hear us talk about more movies later on, do check us out. I said later on way too many times, but anyway, just act naturally.
Hey.
Excuse me. Nada. Are you doing dishes? I hope so.
We always love a dish doing dog.
I need that dog. I need that
I want
dog.
it.
I got 3 dogs, and none of them can do that. I need that dog.
Right.
I got Renegade Jr. in the kitchen right now doing dishes. I'm like, where's that freaking dog?
Yeah, the dog at least to lick them clean first to make sure they get all the good stuff off.
No
there
shit.
To where they'll do a good job. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to these guys. I'll try and get your link in there right away, Mike, so you guys can get to that. And hopefully there's a mod sharing it already. If not, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next. Goodbye.